Welcome back. Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning in studio by speaking with Ms. Reshanna Trim, Senior Social Services Worker at the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, and Mr. Gerard Quamina, who is an OSH officer assigned at the said division with the Tobago House of Assembly. The topic this morning is mental health and the workplace as we celebrate Mental Health Month. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right, a pleasure having you here with us this morning as we go through this very, very important topic. And as we're talking about mental health, before I even get into the workplace, mental health is something that in the past, culturally, we have not paid a lot of attention to because of the taboo that it carries with it in Trinidad and Tobago, primarily in Tobago and in smaller communities. And now we're seeing a lot of talk and conversation about awareness for mental health. And before we get into the conversation, I just want you to share with us what is the importance of placing, attention to your mental health, generally as a person before you even get into the workplace.
I think that a lot of people pay more attention to physical health, but mental health is just as important as physical health. If we are not functioning mentally, then everything can fall down, right? So mental health can actually influence our physical health as well. So mental health is really, really important. I think we don't pay much attention to it because of the taboo, right? And we have a lot of stigma attached to it. So usually we use words, not people first words. So we say, well, somebody who is experiencing mental health challenges, they are crazy. They're gone crazy, they're gone mad. So I think mental health is still a bit of taboo, and so that's why we're raising awareness as well.
And how would you, if you were to define or summarize what mental health is, and what are some of the things people need to pay attention to in terms of ensuring that their mental health is in a good place? Well, how would you define it?
So mental health refers to our psychological, social, and emotional well-being. So it basically affects the way how we interact with others, the way we deal with situations, the way we process stress, the way we collaborate with others. It basically influences our perception in life.
I mean, that's a holistic kind of approach there in terms of your whole being, ensuring that you're in a good space. And what are some of the things that can affect your mental health and your mental health being?
All right, one, stress. And so because we're talking about workplace, stress is a big thing in the workplace. So chronic stress, right? That could be from burnout. That could be also from high workloads. It could also just be from the work environment. And so mental health can be affected by stress. And then stress leads to anxiety. It can lead to depression. It can lead to other mental health conditions, right? And so it's important we take care of our mental health.
And what are some of the ways you can actually, before I get into what are some of the ways, we have the OSH officer here, and you're talking about stress in the workplace. Sometimes they get overwhelmed, the demands are so high. How do you see mental health affecting the workplace in a way that might bring some type of you have to employ the OSH regulations to ensure that people stay safely physically, because this is part of your physical health tying into your mental health as well, right?
Well, basically, thanks. Good morning to everyone. Basically, the OSH Act in itself requires that all employers provide a safe and healthy working environment. And as the word says, mental health, this can in fact impact physically on the working environment. Most people come to work, travel from different areas also. Sometimes they may have personal issues occurring at home. Now, so you might have an employee who normally produces a certain amount of production daily or works in a certain manner that you are efficient. But on that day, you see a change in the employee. It also goes into the physical realm where employees may sometimes come now and start to stay home, absent themselves from the job place, or they will take unnecessary chances while at work because the mind so focused on whatever else is going on in their lives, they don't focus on the task at hand. And with that being done, you will have issues arising such as accidents in the workplace or what we call near misses, which are incidents. These incidents could lead to accidents because health and safety is no longer an approach of just saying, put on a hard hat, put on our boots, and you're good. It is a scientific approach now where we go based on findings, recommendations, also investigations, in addition to taking statistics. So we have a series of different things that we look at, which includes mental health.
And you know, in your experience as an OSH officer, we're talking about mental health and what you have just described in terms of how a person can show up in the workplace, having mental health challenges, that they're carrying this burden or this weight, focusing on that rather than the job. How has it affected their job in terms of an incident happening on the workplace?
All right, well, legally I can't talk about specific incidents, but in general, sometimes you will have an employee, let's say a driver. Sometimes you will hear accidents in the workplace which involves vehicles getting in collisions or striking somebody, or even damage to packages. One of the things you ever see that you're so focused on certain issues that you're not looking at the road as normally you would. And in that regard, you could have an accident, or what we call a near miss, which could then lead to an accident. You also have to consider it might be in the office. Somebody is coming to work, they may be under pressure, have a sick or ailing family member at home. They are the sole provider. While they come into work, they normally will be responsible for, let's say, doing their accounts. Normally with their accounts now, they will be on point. So everything is always, you could depend on them. But all of a sudden now, you have to double check their things. Or then they start to stay home. And in staying home now, you have to bring in 3 people to do the task that one person was doing. So that is one of the ways of many that can affect persons.
And you know, this is interesting because you started off by saying OSH is no longer you wear a hard hat or you wear protective PPE to do a job. It really boils down to the individual and what they are going through. What is some of the support that you put in place from your perspective as an OSH officer? What type of support can be put in place for after you do your investigations and you realize that patterns have changed with an individual? How do you support them and to navigate through the demands of life?
Well, one of the things that we do, besides training and sensitization of the staff and including management, is we do collaboration with other departments. So in regards to that, we have training sessions, which we have every quarter. We have a series of training sessions for all THA employees. And coming up to Christmas or certain special days, we do open training sessions. Some in the hybrid approach, many in the online approach, so we capture a wider audience. In that we collaborate, like last year, we had a collaboration with our colleagues here in health, and we did a holistic thing on mental health in the workplace. So with that, we always collaborate. I could also pass you on to my colleague now who could go further details in regards to some of the initiatives that we have.
Before you go into the initiatives, I really want to hear the initiatives because, as I said before, we really don't pay enough attention to ensuring that you're good. You know, sometimes somebody might see in the street, how you're going, you're good, and they move on. Not even really waiting to hear if you're really good and true, or not even really wanting to know. It's just casual, I just say, and it's courtesy to ask, how are you going?
Not being intentional.
Right. So how does somebody, if you see the signs coming on, you start to feel overwhelmed, what are some of the things you can do? Are you able to say that you can do to either relax, to really focus on what is happening here and how do I deal with this and not carry it with me in the workplace? Are you able to?
Yes, definitely. So one, engaging in mindfulness. So mindfulness is understanding what is my body saying to me, right? A lot of us ignore what our bodies are saying to us. So sometimes we need some self-care. Our body is saying, listen, you need to rest. So self-care, engaging in self-care. So find something that you like to do. Breathing techniques. Some people feel anxious and just doing breathing techniques may assist. But I'm a big advocate of self-care. I think that it goes a long way with mental health, right? And for instance, persons, we call that presenteeism. Some persons may be here, as you said, right here, physically here, but mentally checked out. And so being aware of what your body is saying. Am I tired? Am I anxious? Am I overwhelmed? It's just keeping a mental check, basically. Yeah.
And it's so very important. And sometimes we just focus on what are required of us, the demands. We just have to do it, and we have to do it, and we know we're dealing with situations, and we wouldn't pay attention to the situation, and we just keep going and going until we crash. And we're hoping, viewers, that we don't crash. Take some time out, as the officer said. Check in with your body. What is your body saying? What is your mind saying? How are you feeling? Talk to yourself. You are the most important person in your life, believe it or not. Whether you're a parent, whoever you are the most important person in your life. You can only give when you are filled, right? So fill up yourself before you could pour out. So let's talk now about some of the initiatives that you have ongoing.
All right, so in the workplace, we have EAP services. So these are confidential. So if you're experiencing some mental health challenges, they're EAP services. Structured wellness programs. I think that each organization should at least engage in that. Structured wellness programs, psychoeducation. I always say, once we are aware, we can do better. All right? So it's just about demystifying, destigmatizing mental health. Because again, we have a lot of stigma attached to mental health. And we can only get away from that, break away from old habits through psychoeducation. Also, in the workplace, open door policies, mental health days. We need to come away from how we think about mental health. Mental health isn't, something that's really bad. All right? So it's just changing the conversation. So maybe open door policies, mental health days, paid mental health days. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, life demands so much of us, eh? And what you're speaking about here, it really does lend for that. And I really do hope that, people will take the opportunities to just reflect. And I usually tell a group of people who I am close with, even if it's 5 minutes per day, focus on you. So many things could circulate in your mind in that 5 minutes, and you could come up with solutions to things that demanding on you. I mean, in terms of so that's what the division is doing, or this is just advice you're giving to regular?
Some of these division has already implemented. So the division of health, we want to be a catalyst for mental health. Right. We want to be the go-to in terms of people can look at us and say, listen, we can benchmark. We could take this initiative from the division of health in terms of how we treat with our staff in regards to mental health, changing the conversations around mental health. Again, we are division of health, wellness, and social protection.
That's right.
And it's really important to protect our minds. And so we're trying to push that as well.
And I know I saw in the past that division, you all have the fun days and stuff at the office. I see where you allow people to just let their hair down. They come casually dressed and they participate in games and activities. Is that something you think should be used throughout all the divisions within the THA? There's one, even if it's half day. Do you think this is something, in terms of the feedback from that, how has it been with your staff?
I honestly feel that it encourages productivity, it encourages teamwork. It also fosters a psychological safe environment. And once your employees feel safe, productivity is on the rise. I believe that mental health is a strategic imperative. It's important. It's important for how workplace productivity. It's important to reduce high turnovers. When people feel comfortable, especially psychologically safe, you can get most things out of them.
I really, really am enjoying this conversation, and I wish we had so much more time to talk about this, because it's something that we really need to pay attention to. And I already start just having the conversation with you. I already start to feel better. Believe it or not, I already start to feel light. Is there any additional information you want to share with our viewers this morning before you go?
We just want you all to know to take care of your mental health. Just as much you're focusing on the physical health, mental health is really important. Listen to your body. Listen to what your body is saying. Engage in self-care. Self-care is not a thing that maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Just the way how you're getting a checkup from the doctor, you should get a checkup for mental health in terms of, hey, let me do some self-care. I need it.
All right. And Mr. Quamina, is there any additional information?
Basically, safety officers are in each division of the THA. And on a daily basis, we see different persons going through different issues. And sometimes it impacts them unbeknown to them, because what may be perceived as a norm to them could be a sign of trauma or mental health problems. So sometimes we as officers have to be able to see that and become the bridge between staff and management. And even with the stigma attached, everybody likes to say, if he have a mental issue, he mad, he's psychotic. Where it could be that they just recently went through some traumatic experience, where in our department we had 1 or 2 issues and we had to seek help for our staff. So it's not something that is above anybody. And as R. Kelly used to say, if you could see it, you could believe it.
That's right.
And most times KFC will let them teach you, even with any basic customer training, the teacher answer the phone, answer with a smile. You mightn't feel it, but it will transcend and you don't know if you're affecting somebody.
That's right.
So each
I
one
mean,
have one.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking that the measure of training that you all have to go through, I mean, because at the same time, you also have stuff that you are carrying and you have to deal with it before you even come to lend that support to the staff who needs it. So I am sure, oh gosh, how is it like?
Well, it's a demanding course, and we always have to be recertifying, retraining, first aid. Recently, through other things, because I volunteer also sometimes with other organizations within the THA, we had to do a course on psychological first aid, whereby when you approach somebody, the manner in which you approach them or the words you use could be triggers. So if you see somebody going through something, don't come and say, well, I'm tripping. But if you say, is everything all right? Could be the difference between that person injuring themselves or others. Or they're coming to you and you can now direct them to my colleagues and here in health to say, here, what is what we need for you.
This is a holistic thing, and this is... Can I take a time out to talk to our viewers? This morning, I really want you to pay attention. We have seen in history where people have self-harm, they isolate themselves, they don't want to talk to anybody, and sometimes it can end unfavorable. So let us please pay attention to ourselves. Let us seek the help that we desire, the help that we need, regardless of what anybody else says or thinks. You know what you need. You know, you kind of know when you're performing optimally and when you're not. And when you're not performing optimally, that's when you need to check out a little bit and check in. You know, you need to call somebody, listen, I need some help. There must be somebody who can provide that measure of support for you. Make sure you build a village around yourself who can support you and carry, who can identify when you are falling off and who can provide that measure of support to you. Thank you guys so much for coming in this morning and sharing that information. The conversation was really, really amazing. And I do hope that even as you carry out your duties, you also have that measure of support that you need. And one thing I'm carrying away from this is the self-care thing. Oh, yes. Self-care is very, very important. And I'm going to take that away with me as well. So have an amazing day. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Miss Reshanna Trim, Senior Social Services Worker at the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, and Mr. Gerard Quamina, USH Officer assigned to the same division, working with the Tobago House of Assembly. And it's Mental Health Month. Take care of your mentals. Don't let anybody tell you you're crazy or stupid, because you're not. You're a human being and you have needs just like all of us do. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations. And as we do, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.